This evening in the series, Those Were the Days, we have a most remarkable lady by any standards that you'll judge it by. She was born actually 1 year before the Boer War, way back in the last century, 1898. Of course I'm referring to the great Martra lady, Nancy McSweeney, who taught here in Martra, and indeed very many around the whole area owe their success to her. Well, now I'll introduce, hello Nancy. How are you getting on?
No.
You'd only look at you to know you were fine, thanks be to God. And do you remember, way back in the beginning, I think, you were told about the very night you were born, weren't you?
That's right.
You even came into the world in a fairly, what was there?
Tempestuous night. It was the night of the big thunder.
The big thunder?
Yes.
Yes. And of course...
Well, I didn't exactly arrive with the thunder.
Yeah.
I was born in the morning and the thunder was there that night.
Yes.
Now, as everybody knows, there wasn't a phone or a car around that time. So my father saddled the horse and rode across the hills to Bellavourne to get Dr. Lynch, who saddled his own horse and came back with him and showed me the world anyway.
Yes, brought you into the world.
That's
brought
right.
You into the world. And you were only a few years old, I think, when you took a trip away into Kerry. Isn't that a fact?
Quite right.
Yeah?
We had a housekeeper because my mother was a teacher, and we had a housekeeper from Clonkeen.
Clonkeen, back here in the bounds.
That's right, beyond the county bounds. Well, she invited me to Kerry on Christmas Eve. She was going home to visit her only brother Dáil. My father and Eddie Healy and myself set off in a horse and trap. We went down Cardata on to Bellavourne.
And you were only 3 years old at this time?
3 years old.
Oh, well.
Oh, well, I was wrapped in a shawl.
Yes.
And I felt no cold.
Yes.
I don't remember any cold, even though it was Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
We arrived at the county bounds to meet not a car, but a donkey and car with a board across for
sitting down.
Sitting on.
Yes.
And the three of us sat on the board. Eddie's brother turned the donkey around, and as soon as he smelled the Kerry air, he took off. And such a drive.
At a high speed?
Oh, high speed.
Yeah.
Down to Lowbridge and Clonkeen. When I arrived there, I saw a tiny house, a door and a window.
Yes.
And Eddie brought me in. And
that was the girl?
Yes.
Yes.
Her brother welcomed me. He was a blacksmith.
Yes.
And he was black.
Yes.
And he kissed me fondly.
Yeah.
He was the first man that ever kissed me.
Yes.
And I don't know whether I appreciated it or not, but I appreciated the warmth of the grand church fire.
Yes.
And the Christmas candle lighting and everything ready for us.
For a good Christmas.
Oh, yes.
Yes. And now, of course, then you went to school yourself. Here, is it?
That's right.
Yes. And you can think a little bit about that, I suppose, can you?
Oh, I'll tell you.
Huh?
The cross, as this village is called, was a great place then. There were hundreds of children. Every family had, we had 8.
You had 8?
There were 8 or 9 in all the families.
Oh.
So that we had a great time. We really enjoyed it. We had fun, and nobody put on any airs, because if they did, well...
They were told off?
They were brought down to us very quickly.
Yes. And I tell you, I think you remember at that time even going to school, Thompson's car coming around?
Oh, that's right.
Yes?
That was the highlight of the week.
The highlight of the week when he came around? Yeah.
No.
Thompson's bread?
5 bread vans come to the cross now.
No, yes.
At that time, the bread was brought from Thompson's in Cork to Macroom by train.
By train,
Dan O'Brien picked it up in his horse-drawn van and brought it out here. We thought he was Thompson,
Yeah.
and we always said Thompson is coming.
Yeah.
Now, he had a selection of sweetings for children. That you, at that time, you were very lucky if you had a penny, and nobody had twopence. We were all in the same boat. If you had, what we did was, we went in pairs to the van,
Yeah.
and he sold 8 square, well, you couldn't call them biscuits, they were thicker, they were like Liga biscuits that you buy now for babies.
Yes, yes.
8 a penny.
I know.
Then there were round, sweeter biscuits, 4 a penny.
Yes, yes, yes.
These had currants on top.
I know, I know, I know.
Now every two joined, pooled their money, let us say.
Penny each, like?
Yes. And they got 8 big ones and 4 sweet ones.
Yes, yes, yes.
Then they divided again,
yes.
and everybody had 4 and
Yes.
2.
That's right, yes, yes, yes. I do, I get you, I get you.
We all sat down on the roadside, on the footpath,
Yeah,
and enjoyed our picnic.
yes, yes.
The boys generally brought buns. They were like small loaves,
Yeah,
and they were more filling. And well, the boys didn't sit beside us because schools at that time were segregated. There was the boys and the girls had different schools and different teachers
I know.
and different playgrounds.
Oh, yes, yes.
And we knew very little about the boys until they grew up.
I do, I do,
Well,
I do.
we
I
got
do.
to know them then.
So you hadn't to get your second kiss for a long time after
No.
the 19... Yes, that's right, I know. No,
Not for a long time.
no, no. Now, I think you had a piper's band here, hadn't you?
Oh, it was a great place for music.
Yes.
And
yes.
strange to say, it was the people who lived in the cottages who were most musical.
I know.
You know, I'll tell you, there was poverty in the country at that time. Farmers were not well off, but at least they fed themselves. But labouring men were not well off, and they were badly paid. They were lucky if they were in a good house where there was a generous man, or better still, a generous woman, and they got little cans of milk, and when a pig was killed, they got a bit of meat,
And the crow beans, maybe?
and the puddings, and that.
Mm.
So that really they were, but the labourers were very musical. The cottages around here now, it was the families from there that formed the band.
Yes, yes.
And, well, what enjoyment we got out of it. At night they marched along the roads, playing the God Save Ireland, and all these tunes that we knew.
And you used to be singing, someone singing?
Oh, singing.
Singing, yeah.
Well, there was a public house right in front of our house, which was the teacher's residence. And when they had taken a few pints, they were only twopence each that day. They went out at the corner and they sang for all our entertainment, and we went out and listened to them. Now, at the time, we had a poet amongst us. We were very lucky.
Yeah.
His name was Johnny Brown.
Oh, yeah.
He was an orphan, and he and his brother had been brought to Cools to live with the family there. They were already about 14 of those days. Nevertheless, they welcomed Johnny and his brother, and they were very happy.
That's over the hill here now from
That's right, just beside us.
Yes, right.
Well, Johnny entered into the life of the village, and he made poetry. He had been to school in Cork, and he was well educated, as you can know. If you heard the Martra exam, he must have known his geography, because he said, I travelled through Columbia, all toil and danger scorning, from its farthest eastern border far westward to the deep. by the broad extending cotton fields to the plains of Alabama, and the mines of lone Montana with the Rockies wild and steep. And then he had a sad verse, I've hunted for prosperity, but still it has eluded me. For black misfortune followed me no matter where I drove. And often in my anguish I've cursed the fate that parted me from the home of my boyhood and my own dear Irish home.
Yes,
He composed poems about every incident around.
Including Gugan, I believe.
Oh yes, the trip to Gugan. He was actually there himself.
That's right, yes.
And Sean O'Sheehan sings that.
Yes.
And he sings the Kill the Martra exile. Well, he, you know...
He was in the war, wasn't he?
Oh dear, in 1914.
Yes.
You see, he had joined the English police in England, and there was an army reservist, and I believe everyone joined it, because they got a certain
money, I suppose they got a bit of money.
So much a week, a month or something. But he joined, and he was called up in the 1914 war. Well, he had no love for England, and he didn't want to go. He went into bed. But they came for him, and they saw the ambulance passing through the village, taking him away.
I do.
We were so sad. Oh, it was so...
He was very popular.
Oh, he was. He was a grand-looking man. Oh, he was well over 6 feet, and he was handsome, and so soldierly looking. Oh,
isn't it a pity that he hasn't been known more? You'd never hardly hear of Johnny Brown.
Oh, well, everybody in Kilmacra
knows of him.
Oh, they did.
Yes.
Did.
Well, they'll hear about him now through local television a lot more.
Yes.
Yeah, that's right.
He made a song about the Salon, and about, as I say, every incident. Well, he went off to the war, and like all Irishmen, he was shipped off to France straight away. He wasn't down there when he was wounded, but thank God it was only a flesh wound, and he came home on leave. My uncle, who was an avowed Republican, was a great friend of his, and Johnny arriving in Europe in uniform didn't upset him. He brought him up to our house for tea, and he told us of the horrors of the war. Oh, it had an awful effect on him.
Yes.
He was sent back immediately as soon as he was able to go. But he never... He escaped.
Yes.
Even though he was through the whole war.
Yes.
Well, he didn't escape the horrors of it because it never left his mind. I think he must have thought that this world wasn't
Yes.
much.
Yes.
And one morning he left Cools, packed his bag, left Cools, and joined the Brothers of St. John of God, and spent the rest of his life caring for mentally handicapped.
That's been on for. No,
Yes, and he was prior of St. John of God and the Lord.
I know. He got up to that.
He did, and he's not long dead.
Isn't he?
know.
Isn't he?
I think it was 79 he died. He was 84.
Well.
And they said that he led a most exemplary life, and he was loved by all the brothers. And in his last illness, that he never complained, but he was the soul.
I believe he had a remarkable escape. Was it that man you were talking about when a bullet hit a button or something?
That's right.
Is that right?
A medal.
A medal?
Yes.
Right. In the war? That was in the war?
That was in the war.
Yes.
That was when he was wounded.
Yes.
It hit a medal.
And greased off him?
Yes.
Yeah.
And it was only a flesh wound.
I know. But to come back then, you were talking about these singers. I think they caused a little annoyance to some party, did they?
Yes. We had a parish priest at the time.
Parish priest?
Yeah, but he was a tyrant anyway.
Yeah, the tyrant, yeah.
In fact, the clergy of the diocese admitted that he was.
Yes.
Well, these lads used to sing, and you know, a favourite song they had was a song of the Foreign Legion.
Oh, yes.
Being on the Rhine. A very sad song.
Yeah.
And they were doing no harm to anyone but entertaining us all when they sang it. But he preached a sermon about them, and he called them the Hooligan Brigade.
The Hooligan Brigade?
Yes.
Yeah.
But Johnny retaliated.
Johnny Brown?
Yes.
Oh, yes.
He made a song.
Yeah.
and about the hooligan brigade.
Yeah.
And he praised them. And then he finished up saying, we also have a turned priest, I'm sorry to confess. The gallant boys of our brigade he daily does oppress. To free ourselves soon from his power, that hope will never fade, while we have God to fight our lives, the hooligan brigade.
Yes, yes, he didn't like that.
I suppose he heard it.
He did, I suppose he didn't like it. Yeah.
But he was a loss to the community.
Yes, yes, yes.
You know,
Well, of course, you have all sorts of people in the world, as you know only too well. You have. You went along then, of course, when you left here. Did you go to Dublin after leaving Martra school?
yes, I went to Eccles Street,
Yes.
to the Dominican nuns,
Yes.
and they were a grand lot of nuns, all very liberal.
Yes, yeah.
They let us out to, if there was a concert, if there was a lecture, if there was anything,
Yeah.
or else they brought in the lecturer
Yes, I
or
know.
the singer.
Yeah.
Oh, they were
What
wonderful.
order were they now?
Dominicans.
Dominicans, yes, yes, yes.
Well, that was a very sad time in Dublin. There was terrible poverty. And you know,
Around the strike, was it? Around the...
yes,
Yeah.
Larkin strike.
I
And
know.
urban poverty is far worse than rural poverty.
Yes, yes,
Oh,
tis.
You know, the tenements, they're still, but they were frightful.
Yes, yes.
Now, we used to go to down Lake Street to confession, and the way led down a short way, down past Granby Lane, where Matt Talbot was found dead.
Right.
And,
Very poor part of the city.
oh yes,
Mhm.
rag and bone.
Rag and bones, yes,
Yes,
yes, yes.
rag and bone stores all the way down.
Yes, yes, yes.
I can always see one of them, Anne Keogh, a general dealer,
Oh.
and she was picking rags outside.
But what used they do with these rags, or where used they get them?
I suppose collect them from,
People like who have
Yeah.
old clothes and...
and I suppose, they were made into shoddy, shoddy material in the mills.
I do, they
sold
were
them.
taken down again and
Oh,
made
they
into
were,
cloth. I
they
know,
were.
I know.
And there must have been, because
Yeah, mm,
a great many people did them.
Mhm.
But, if you saw the steps of these tenements that time, with little children of 8 and 9,
Yes.
with
Have
just
any-
in rags,
No clothes.
minding their
And no boots, of course.
young sisters. Oh no.
No.
I saw them in the snow coming into Dominic Street Church.
Yes,
Oh, in absolute rags.
yes, yes.
Well, Larkin did great good. I know,
That was Jim Larkin?
yes.
Mm-hmm.
The strike came on at that time. You see, Martin Murphy owned the Independent, he owned the Metropole Hotel, he owned everything.
Mm-hmm.
And he was a tyrannical boss.
Yes, yeah.
And
Mhm.
these poor people. Now, there was an electrical engineer in Guinness's brewery, and I happened to say it one time, something about Larkin, he was causing trouble. He said, do you know this, he said,
Mm-hmm.
that there were workmen in Dublin who couldn't go to Mass because they had no suitable clothes.
Yes.
But Larkin got them dressed, he said, he got them decent wages.
Yes.
Oh, he was very indignant with me.
Yes.
Well, we went downtown one night. We actually were sent on a message from the convent,
Yeah.
and we saw this big crowd on the street, a huge crowd,
Mm-hmm.
and we were just on the outskirts of it, and they were all watching the Metropole Hotel.
Mm-hmm. That was around the time of the strike?
Yes,
Yes.
they were all strikers.
Yes.
And the next thing, a man stepped out on the balcony wearing a long beard.
Mm-hmm.
He removed the beard, and such a cry of applause
Mm-hmm.
to Larkin.
Yes.
You see, he walked into Murphy's Hotel,
They never knew who he was.
disguised them. Oh, never
That's
knew he was.
That's right.
And
Was that meeting banned? I suppose it was banned. He wasn't supposed to be there.
oh no, not at
That's
all.
right. That's
Oh,
right.
no.
Yes.
And it was a shame, really, the way the well-off people of Dublin backed him out
Mm.
and looked down on the strikers.
Yes.
Now, I saw this we had a friend who was head of the St. Vincent de Paul.
In Dublin, yes.
Yes.
Mm.
And he asked us to come down to Osenham House, to Still there in
Yarmouth
Yarmouth
Street,
Street
yes, yeah.
on a Saturday to buttered bread. He had a big machine, he cut the bread like a bacon slicer, you know.
Yes, yes.
And huge big chunks of bread, and we buttered them. And on Sunday morning we went down. There was nobody there on Saturday except ourselves, but on Sunday morning men, women and children came in for a free breakfast.
Yes, yes, yes.
And we had enormous teapots,
Yeah.
huge teapots,
Yes, yes.
and we went round and we poured out the tea for these people,
Mm-hmm.
and they had a breakfast.
Yeah.
Well, no, the men were so quiet and so gentle.
These poor people.
Oh,
Yeah, yes.
but listen,
Mm-hmm.
do you know the smell of unwashed humans?
That's right, that's right.
Oh, it was,
Sure, of course, the last thing that they'd have to buy would be the soap. They hadn't even money for food.
no, and sure,
That's right.
They had no water to wash.
No water inside the houses or anything,
Oh,
you're right.
no, it was
That's right,
terrible.
that's right, that's right.
But they were not rough. They were nice and gentle.
Yes,
I
yes.
think the women had the children with them, and of course they were more rowdy.
Yes, 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 yes.
But anyway, they were all right, the whole lot of them. That's
mhm.
the way they were born and brought in.
But do you remember, I think then, your next would be O'Donovan Ross's funeral, wouldn't it?
That's right.
You remember seeing it?
That was 1914.
Right.
And my friend lived up there in Lindsay Road in Glasnevin, and everyone knew the funeral was coming. You see, he had died in America,
Yeah.
and we went up to the end of the road and watched it. Well, no, you know, that was before 1916,
Yes.
and such a show of arms. All the volunteers who were there carried rifles,
Did they know?
openly,
Did they? Openly?
openly.
Yes.
The Countess was there,
Yes. Come to Mascovitz?
Yes.
Yes, yes.
in full uniform, and
Oh.
they were in uniform, the
Yeah.
men.
Yes, 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 yes.
But isn't it funny that
The British never pulled them in.
interfered? No,
Pulled them in, yes,
it's
yes, they did.
extraordinary.
Yes, yes.
Well, then they had field kitchens. The young fellas, the scouts were there,
Mm-hmm.
and they had even field kitchens. They had everything.
Yes, yes,
It
yes.
was an extraordinary show of
Yes, yes.
military.
But then you were in Dublin during 1916, I suppose, were you?
I wasn't. My sister was there. I'll tell you now where I was in 1916. When I was in school here, every inspector was a Protestant.
The inspectors were Protestants at that time.
Yes.
Yes, yes, yes.
And
yes.
all the engineers were Protestant.
Yes,
There
yes.
was nobody in a position of any trust except a Protestant. I
Mhm.
don't know, people didn't resent it.
They didn't resent it, yeah?
No.
A lot of these people were very good people even,
They were.
weren't they? They
No.
were quite good people, yes.
All my
They were.
older sisters and brothers were in college.
Mm.
And this inspector came in. He was a Presbyterian from the north of Ireland.
Yes.
His name was Stokes. And I saw himself and my mother very, very sad one day. Do you see, his only son had been killed in France.
Yes,
And
yes.
he was telling her that. And he asked about her family.
Yes.
So he advised her to take me from Eccles Street and make me a pupil teacher in the school.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I'd have preferred to go back, but anyway, I did what I was told, and I got £24 the first year,
Yes, 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 yes.
and 26 the next year.
Yes, yes, yes. Well, you were... Yes, yes.
And I did my exams.
Yeah.
You know, there were something like the inter and leaving.
Yes, that leaving,
but
yes,
I
yes.
did them anyway, and I got honours in them. I
Yeah.
must have done a bit of work.
Yeah.
And then in Easter week 1916, I did my, what was called
King's-
the King's Scholarship.
Right, right, yes.
That brought me into training.
Yeah.
I did that in Cork.
I
So
know.
I wasn't in Dublin that week, but my sister was, and they had gone out the country for a walk, and when they were coming back, they were stopped by the volunteers at barricades. But of course they were let through
Yes,
because
yes, yes.
they
yes.
just told who they were and that, and
That's
they
right.
were through.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that was 1916, and I went to the training college.
Mm-hmm.
Well, no, the training college was a different setup altogether from Exeter Street.
Yes.
I think I was the youngest there, and there were girls up to 30. But the rules were very repressive.
Oh, I know.
Oh, we were
Very strict.
Oh, we were called at 5:45 in the morning and lined up in the drill hall, as it was called,
Yes.
and counted. Must have been a bit like Longkit.
Yes.
We were counted, and oh yes,
Mm-hmm.
we went to mass and breakfast, and then to class. We had absolutely no exercise
Yes.
except for a half an hour at night where we danced in the hall.
And who was running this that time?
Oh, the Sisters of Mercy, they still are, I'd say.
Oh, they are,
Oh,
yes.
but I'm sure they have learned since.
Oh, they...
And you know, they had beautiful grounds on the
Yes,
college, and we were well fed. We had no,
Yes, yes.
no. But I did I wouldn't advise any young person to do it, but I'll tell it. When we came back after the summer holidays, or after some holidays, we found that the windows, which you could lift up from the sash, do you
Yes,
know?
I do, yes.
You could lift up, that they had been all sealed in this way. Two pieces of wood had been screwed in just above the sash so that you could only lift,
Small bit.
well, about 6 inches.
Mhm.
And we'd never fit out there. No, I had no ambition to leave the college. I was quite happy there. But when I saw that, well, I suppose I felt that it shouldn't be there.
The rebel blood.
So that night, while the rosary was on, may God forgive me, I went down and got a turn screw and in the sewing machine and released these 2 blocks of wood. And I told 2 other lassies that were as adventurous as myself, and we went down and opened up the window and jumped out.
That was in the ground floor, of course. Yeah.
On the ground floor.
Yeah, that's
yes.
right, yeah.
Well, we ran down to Blackrock and into a shop, McGee's shop, where we knew 2 lads. Oh, well, they got such a shock when they saw us. They were 2 good lads.
Mm.
They advised us to go home immediately because
You'd be
were-
expelled.
expelled,
Yeah.
and that there were plenty of people in Blackrock who would have reported to the nuns.
Yes, yes. Yeah.
Well, they gave us 3 tins of sweets and would take no money.
Yes, yeah, no.
Now, one of those lads was hanged afterwards in Dublin.
We should God help us.
He took part in the rising, and
Yeah.
his mother came up from Galway. He was, what do I know? Well, she came up and stood outside Kilmainham where he was being hanged.
Oh.
And the Shawl of Galway Grey, that poem was composed about her,
I know. About that woman.
about that woman.
Yes, yes, yes. Waiting outside Kilmainham jail.
Yes,
Yes, I do. I never knew that now.
yes.
Yes.
And the other lad was Gerald Feeney. Now, there was a conscription, was 1918.
Yeah.
And of course, the country went mad
Against it.
against it.
Yeah, yeah.
Churches were full,
Mm-hmm.
all packed,
Mm-hmm.
and people prayed all day, and they did everything. Well, there was a conscription collection made up, and because I was brought up in history, and I began to see this was wrong, so I wrote a note and sent it round to all the students
In the school.
saying that we make a collection. And they almost all anyway, gave a shilling each. It wasn't a whole lot, but there were 200 of them there. But you know, that traitor crept amongst us.
Hmm?
There were the matter was reported.
Oh, yes, to the nuns.
Yes.
Yes.
And the head nun came along and interviewed me. So I told her I did and why I did it. And she said, well, no, she wasn't severe now, mind you.
That's right.
She probably knew and sympathised with the people and had brothers probably. You must give that back. 'Tis against the rules, do you see, of the department that we should have anything political. And you must give that back. Well, I didn't promise anything, but I did not give it back. And I sent it down to Blackrock, or I brought it down to Blackrock, to Gerald Feeney, one of these boys.
The boys that gave you the
Yes.
sweets, yeah?
And he gave me a receipt signed by me Hall Staines, who was Army Chief at the time.
That's right.
So I got out of that. And
Yeah.
she never asked me, the nun.
Gee, what happened after?
No, she never asked me.
Well, now, Nancy, you came along then, of course, and we had the first Dáil. And you were in Dublin at that time,
That's
and
right.
you, I suppose, did you visit the Dáil?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Do you see the 1918 election returned all Republicans, a Republican majority. And there were two governments functioning in the country then. Well, actually, the British government wasn't functioning because nobody was obeying them.
Yes.
And the Dáil just sat as they do now, without permission from England.
Yes. In the Mansion House, was it?
In the Mansion House.
Yes.
And we went there to see history in the making.
Yeah.
And it was great.
Yeah. And they used to come out, then you wasn't there, you followed them some day, this or that?
Well, we were wondering where they went when they left.
Yes.
And we followed them up to the green and on to the left and down steps into a basement kitchen.
I know.
This was run by three dingle girls.
Oh, yeah.
They had only a tiny little kitchen off this main restaurant.
Yeah.
Now the restaurant had small white deal tables and kitchen chairs and a mock turf fire. There was turf there with a bulb in the middle and a red plastic around it, which gave it the appearance of a... An
imitation of the present ones, like.
Exactly.
Yes, right.
On the table there were gem pots, not glass ones, but crockery ones with heather in them. Now the whole thing looked like a farmhouse kitchen.
I know.
And these girls kept on making cakes and everything and bringing on. Now that was a great place.
And the boys just going there, the fellas of the Dáil, and the women too, of course.
So we sat down, and in the corner, I always remember, sat Desmond Still and his wife.
That was Garrett's father, no?
Yes.
Yes.
Garrett's father. Oh, they were very good looking. Well, I shouldn't say it, they were better looking than Garrett, but...
yes.
But they were beautiful,
Yes.
It was hard to
She was from the north, wasn't she?
She was.
His mother.
His mother. She was lovely.
Yes.
And so was Desmond.
Yeah.
And now, every day when the Countess came in...
That Countess Master visits,
yes, in full uniform, with her gun in her holster, she marched over to Desmond and his wife and sat down with them. She always did.
She was very impressive, was she?
Oh, she was.
Marvellous looking.
Well, very military looking.
Yes.
Now, another visitor was Maud gone. But
that's John McBride's mother. Yeah.
She just floated in with her widow's weeds. Oh, she was beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, she had been very beautiful, and now she had been to Castle Bald and presented at court.
Yes.
And it seems that time she was marvellous looking. But even you'd see it along the street. You should look at her.
Yes.
Now, it was strange, all these county folk who teamed up with the movement.
Yes.
There was the Arab...
They were the type of elite, if you like, some of them.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Oh, they were.
Yes.
They were. There was the Honourable Albinia Broderick.
Oh.
She was from Kerry. and she always dressed in nurse's uniform.
Yeah.
And when she died, later on,
Yeah.
she left all her property to the Republicans, and no Dáil or no government could decide who were the Republicans, and I believe that property is still there.
Yes, 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 yes. Whatever she had, like.
Yes.
Yes, I know, I know.
But she had been in Kerry, and she had been a district nurse there, and had done untold good for the people, for the
poor
sick
people,
yes, for
yeah.
the poor people there.
Yes, yes, yes.
Then there was Dora French. She was either a sister or a niece of Lord French's,
I know.
and she was very elegant. She never spoke English.
Well, well, well.
She never spoke English.
And she was a type of aristocrat, of course,
Oh,
wasn't
she was,
What you
yes.
call at the time?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, yeah. Well, well.
Dora French.
Mm.
And all these people came in and sat down. Well, they had people of their choice, you know, and they sat generally at the same tables every day. And that was very enjoyable. I used to really enjoy that.
But you then, of course, again, you come along then, and we had the Ten War, the War of Independence.
Well,
Yes.
I wasn't around here for that.
But your
except
brothers,
on holiday.
your brothers took a big part in
They
it.
did.
Your brothers
Well,
took a big part in it.
I'll tell you, my mother's brother was really, he was a dedicated Republican. And he was a bachelor and lived a mile from us.
Yes.
But he really educated us. He,
Republican wise?
oh yes, and everywhere.
Yes, yes.
You know, he taught us all about the poets. He quoted Shelley, and
Yeah.
mind you, he left school at 13, but he was better read than many a professor.
He educated himself. Yes. Yes.
He told us all about Burns and quoted this poem about why you should work, not for to hide it in a hedge or for a train attendant, but for the glorious privilege of being independent.
Oh,
And
yes, 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 yes.
He always said that one.
I do. But listen, in this ambush that was there in the trouble over here in Paulnabro, that was one of the big ambushes.
Oh, it was.
You
Well,
know?
there were two before that.
Yes.
There was one at the Slippery Rock where they captured 8 rifles from the British Army. But you know, the poor soldiers were at a disadvantage.
I know.
They were cycling along a by-road and they were attacked from behind rocks, you know. That
Yeah,
was, of course,
that's
guerrilla
right.
warfare.
That's right.
And I remember my brother Mick saying it was sad to see the fine man lying on the ground,
Did.
dead.
Oh, yes.
You
yes.
know.
Yes, yes, yes. They were sorry. Yes, 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 yes.
Although he was a good soldier, he
Yeah,
didn't like to see.
Well, of course, soldiers never, as you have said yourself, have any bitterness.
Never.
No,
No,
they
no animosity.
No
towards-
animosity.
no,
That's right.
no.
That's right.
Oh, they haven't.
But then in Coolfolk, I believe Mick had the machine gun there and enabled them all to escape. He did it. I heard it always. You know.
Well,
was that a fact?
I suppose he did his best.
Yes, yes, yes.
But, you know, there was terrible tension there. They had been waiting for a long, long time.
Yes,
That's what he described this in the book.
yes.
And some fellas had got out of their positions. You know, they were tired of being there. They had been waiting 3 or 4 mornings.
Yes.
And somebody saw the car coming, and in order to warn them, they fired a shot. And that was a fatal shot because it warned them.
It warned the other fellas, yes.
They were auxiliaries.
That's right, yes,
They
that's
were
right.
auxiliaries.
Yeah.
Well, now, of course, Major Grant was shot there, but apart from that, they had to retreat, and they had a terrible trouble retreating because lorries, military lorries, converged from all over.
All sides, yes. Yes,
Oh,
yes.
they did.
They must have known that they were going to be ambushed when
They
he was
were.
brought down.
They knew, of course.
Yes, that's right.
They
That's right.
couldn't keep,
That's right. Yes, that's right.
you know.
Yeah.
You'd have somebody always.
You won't. You'd have some black sheep.
Yeah.
And then your other brother too, there in the burning down of the police barrack in Ballivona. There was
Well,
a bit of an incident, wasn't there?
that was earlier. You see, both the barracks and there was a courthouse there.
Yes.
It was burned first, and they soaked the whole place in petrol.
Yes.
And he was on the top floor when somebody came in with a lighted cigarette, and there was a terrible explosion.
Oh, darling.
And
Yeah.
you know, it was worse for the fellas that were outside than for those inside.
Yes, 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 yes.
They were
located, yes.
Oh yes, and thinking that they were all
Burned, yeah.
inside,
Yeah.
which was extraordinary how they got down. And my brother missed one flight of stairs. He went into a room, you know, in the second
Yeah, mistake, yes.
floor,
Yeah.
but he got down, thank God. But I brought him into the Martra infirmary, and Dr. Dundon was the doctor at the time, and I don't suppose he was a Republican, but
No.
he was a great man.
Uh-huh.
And the nuns in the North Infirmary were toppers.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, they were great.
Mm-hmm. And they treated them
They treated him.
successfully, yes.
There was another lad since dead.
Mm-hmm.
He got very badly burned.
Mm-hmm.
Their faces and hands,
Oh dear.
mostly.
Dear,
Their
dear.
hair was burned off
Yes, yes,
in their
yes.
faces.
But then you finished off yourself your training, and
Oh,
of course,
yes.
was Castletown Road the first place you went to?
It was, and it was beautiful.
Was it? You loved it?
It was a beautiful countryside,
Yeah,
and the people were, they couldn't be better.
Yeah.
They were great.
Yeah.
I spent 3 very happy years there.
Yes, yes.
Oh, it was very
yes,
good.
Yes.
Very good.
Yes, yes.
I had a landlady, I must tell you this, I had a landlady there, and she was a gossip, of course, and she used to tell me all the news when I came in.
Yeah.
And if I wanted to read, well, she was a bit of a nuisance,
Yeah.
but she was very nice. She was a retired farmer. And I asked her one time, did she ever read a book? And she said no. So I got a very lively novel for her,
Yeah.
and I gave it to her. Oh,
Yeah.
of course, she was enchanted
Yeah.
with the novel.
Yeah.
But the last day it was worse than the first. When I came in to lunch or tea or whatever it was, she told me the whole story. And she used to put her glasses down on the table and she used to say, well, Miss O, some of these fellows in books to be terrible lads.
Terrible lads. She had never read a book before. Well.
Oh, and she couldn't.
And she thought very likely that was nearly real.
Oh,
She said, "Oh, she did
absolutely.
very likely, yes.
Absolutely.
That's right.
And you know, she used to tell me,
Uh,
there were these two, and then another fellow came along, and the whole story was
yes.
Oh, but she was.
You had entertainment for a couple of weeks, very likely.
I know she was great.
Yeah.
Oh, they were lovely people.
Yeah.
You know now, they would. I'd have stayed there, but the war. You know, the people talk about soldiers having a bad time. To the people at home
Yes.
are under strain,
Yeah.
and it took the toll. My mother had to give up teaching.
Yes.
So I came home reluctantly, but still.
You came home here to Killamatra.
I did. I came home.
Yeah.
And, well, I was nearly 50 years teaching all together.
Here in Killamatra.
And in Castletown Road.
Yes,
you know,
Yes,
really.
yes.
And I enjoyed it.
And of course, a large numbers of pupils.
Oh,
went
they
through.
were great. Though.
Yes,
Listen,
Yeah.
I think now that they were cleverer at that time. You know, than more. I don't know, they were great.
Yes.
Sure, Sheila there was one of my pupils. And oh, they were so nice
Yes.
to that. Oh, they had a great time.
Of course,
Great.
Sheila would be Shauna Sheikhan's Sheila, wouldn't she?
She would.
That's right,
But
that's right.
Sean O'Sheachan wasn't a big man that time.
No, but what happened? He had the potential.
Well,
That's the thing,
I
the
think, you
potential.
know, Sean's father and mother contributed a whole lot to keep the master. You know, their house was like a community hall. They were singing and all sorts of enjoyment in it.
Yes.
And I remember one particular night, this is a funny thing,
Yeah.
somebody called for a song, and a fellow who was, well, he was a bit of a dandy, I suppose, he sang The Girl I Left Behind Me.
Yes, yeah.
And there was a fellow sitting at the kitchen table with his head down on his hands. I didn't think he was listening,
Mm-hmm.
but when it came to him, well, I think he had a few pints taken. And when it came to the end, the singer sang, "My heart no broke when I answered no to the girl I left behind." So he lifted up his head and he said, "And wasn't she the lucky girl?"
Actually, listen, and they were great. They had great crack that time.
Oh, they were
They
great.
had, before the television or the radio or anything, there was great crack.
And she and his father, oh, he was a very good singer. And he'd stand up and he'd sing, "Cushion Oirig is Braneri."
Yes,
You
yes,
know,
yes,
oh,
yes. And Cock Came and Eve was a popular one, I
Oh,
suppose.
it was.
Of course, twas. And the priests over here now, can you think of the various priests? You're sure there were a good few. You remember, I suppose, Father Shinnick?
Oh, I do remember.
Father Shinnick was a character, wasn't he?
He was.
He was, God knows he was.
You know,
Yeah.
Father Shinnick was very well read.
Mm-hmm.
But one day, one of these, a member of the band, a poor lad really, a very musical fellow, and he was a good man after he went to Carriganeman in 1916
Yes.
to meet this ill-fated odd crowd from Kerry.
That's right.
Well, he what was I tell you about?
You were talking about Father Shinnick and about some person then that went to Carriganeman.
Oh, yes.
That's right. In 1916.
He was known as Louth.
Yes.
And he went into Father Shinnick for some business one day.
Yes.
And he looked at Father Shinnick's library.
Yes.
And Father Shinnick said, "Well," he said, "there's nothing there that would interest you."
Yes.
Well, Louth said, "I see the Encyclopedia Britannica."
Oh. And he knew of it. He knew of
did.
it. And he had one of those that time.
Oh,
Father
he
Shinnick
had.
had, which was most unusual.
Oh, he had.
Most unusual.
Oh, he was very good.
Yes, yes.
But one evening my uncle was coming along the road and Father Shinnick was instructing the boys at the corner on the phases of the moon.
Yes.
And my uncle said, "Yeah, that's all nonsense," he said. "Should everybody knows," he said, "that there's a fellow over there in the Himalayas with a big stick with a crook in the end of it. And when the moon is worn out, he hangs it up. He hangs up a full moon."
Yes.
Oh, Father Shinnick. But he was, Father Shinnick was a saint.
He was.
Listen now.
The little car he had then and the little small
When
car.
Father Shinnick died, he had an iron single bed in his room.
Yes.
There was no carpet on the floor. It was absolutely bare.
Yes.
And he had nothing. No. Oh, no.
He had nothing to give.
Nothing
No.
at all.
He went, like he came into the world
He
nearly.
did.
That's right, I do.
He was a good priest.
Yeah.
And all the priests, I mean, they had their faults, but
yes.
they all attended to their duties.
Yeah.
And they did nothing, you know. That
No, wrong, nothing wrong.
No.
No.
Oh, no, they were very good.
I believe that he had the small little car and he used to have a great time with that car.
But he was a mechanic too, you know.
Oh, was he?
He was.
Yes.
Oh, he was.
He was, yeah. But you had, of course, another man that was a very fine man here too, Father Brew.
Oh, but
You knew him, Con Brew?
Oh, he was outstanding.
Yes.
He was so kind.
Yes.
Oh, he was very good.
Mm-hmm.
He was very good.
You remember him well, of course?
I do.
Yes. That's not too long ago at all, of course.
He's not.
No.
Should his relatives are alive yet. Yes.
But, and you yourself now, of course, you have been retired a while, have you?
A long time.
A good while, yes, you have.
I wonder why the government doesn't do something to get rid of
Yes.
these teachers that live so long.
Yes, that's right. It would save them a couple of quid. And sure, with all the loans and things like that, they'd want to do something, all right. We wouldn't want to be putting bad thoughts into their head. No. But now, you yourself, in commenting back over your life, what type of comment would you make generally about today? First of all, in relation to the economic situation back and how it was and improvements of this or that. You know? What would you think?
I say even though we belonged that time to a great empire, we didn't see much of it. I mean, look at old people that time. They had no pensions.
They had nothing.
Sick people.
Yes.
You know.
Yes, that's right.
Working people.
Yes.
There was no dole.
Yes. And they were an awful pity when a person died.
Oh, they were.
Yes, they
Oh,
were.
they were.
Big families left after, like.
They were.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it. Oh, things have improved immensely.
Mm.
And look at the whole country, the way the people keep their houses and everything. They have grants for this, and it makes an awful difference.
It does, it does.
It makes an awful difference.
They got a bit of independence like it too, you see.
Well, you know, you'd often wonder, is the country worth all the lives that are lost?
Yes, yes, all the lives,
You
yes,
would.
yes, 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 yes.
And you know, of course, nobody wants to look back on the Civil War. It was an awful tragedy.
Yes,
It was an awful tragedy.
yes,
There's
yes.
no doubt about it.
Yes. By the way, you were saying there, I was saying a while ago to you, the business during the truce, I believe that they used to have great gas above in Dublin, Div and Collins and the whole lot
Oh, but
Tuesday.
listen, the
Yeah.
truce was such a relief.
Yeah,
Oh, it was marvellous
Yeah.
that year, and the Lord sent such a year.
mm.
Now, when the truce came, there was a training camp back in Inchmore,
Yeah.
and
That back in Cooley or somewhere back there? is it?
yes,
Yeah.
beyond Cullein.
Yeah.
And my brother remembers lying on the big rocks there.
Mm.
They couldn't lie on them, with the heat of the rocks. It was
Yeah.
a marvellous year.
Yes.
I was in Dublin at the Oireachtas that year, but it was an Oireachtas because they were all united. It was such a sense of comradeship between them.
Yes.
The Cayley there was in Rutland Square and Parnell Square, and there were people from Australia, America, everywhere. They had flooded into the country
Yes.
to celebrate the truce,
Yeah.
and they wanted to get in. They couldn't get in. There wasn't room for them.
Yes.
But I was standing in a 1600 reel
1600 reel.
with a friend of mine in Dublin, and he said, "Who's the president?" Dave was standing opposite, and Collins was there on our right, with a lovely girl in a green dress,
Dancing.
dancing.
Yes, yes.
Well, you know, when you think of what happened after,
Yes, and I suppose you can even think of the evening that Collins was killed. Very well, a lot of people
I
that
can.
time. Yes.
and somebody said that Dave was around here. Dave was here during the truce.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
He was here to review the
General situation?
Republican Army at
Yes,
the
yes,
time,
right.
and it was in Bellavourne. He reviewed them.
Mm.
But he came over and he had dinner in our house. No, I wasn't there. I was in Dublin at the time. I was in Dublin very often because I loved Dublin. But I was in the DBC. It was a place like Thompson's, the Dublin Bread
Yes,
Company. There
right.
was
Little
restaurants
restaurant, yes.
all
yes.
over Dublin.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw Dick Mulcahy sitting at a table with Dora French,
Yeah.
Lord French's sister or
Mm-hmm.
niece. And he called me over and he said, in Irish, Nance vi Marigina Martra in A. They were in Kina Martra himself and Dáil and some others.
Yes.
And they had dinner down in the residence where we lived.
Yes.
But I wasn't there. My
Yeah.
two sisters were there all day, but I wasn't there. But Dick Mulcahy told me. Dick Mulcahy was a great friend of ours. He had come around here, oh well, I wonder was it before 1916,
Mm-hmm.
on a bicycle organising the country.
Yes.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
he was a very nice fellow
Mm-hmm.
and very approachable always,
Mm-hmm.
even when he got to be Minister for Education.
Mm-hmm.
But that was all the truth was, it was marvellous.
Mm-hmm.
And to see all those comrades there so united at the time, it was sad.
Yes, twice.
I don't know, and even my brothers often said, why did they go themselves? They didn't. My uncle would have nothing to do with it. He said
He pulled out, did he? He pulled out.
pulled out
A
completely.
good few people did that, of course, at the time, yes.
He said there was never a country that got its freedom, but they had civil war. Look
Yeah.
at America, he
That's
said.
right, that's right, that's right.
And
That's right.
it was,
Even England had their own, long years ago,
Yes,
they had.
they had.
That's right, of course,
They
they
had.
had. They had.
and a civil war was shocking.
They had.
Right.
But I suppose you knew all the people mainly, or you had contact with Liam Lynch, and of course
Yes, he was of course down from I.
Yes, yes.
I knew all of them because most of them called to the house.
That's right.
You know.
And Barry and all these, of course, you know them all.
Well, you see, Barry isn't in our area at all, although I knew very well.
Yeah.
He was West Cork.
Right, right.
And, well, there was one thing about this part of the country. They lost no man, thanks be to God.
Yes.
You know, they never lost a man in all their scraps.
Yes, I do. I know.
Not one lad in Ballybordner. There was a decoy lorry sent out there, and he went and pulled back the cushion of the lorry, and they shot him dead.
Oh yes, I do.
And he was the only one that was lost. One fella lost an eye.
Mm-hmm.
That was in the Civil War.
But if you were to say something now to young people growing up, and give them a little, you have had a long, long life, and what would be in a few words, what would you advise? We're in a very hard time today. You saw worse times though, much worse.
Oh, I did.
And nevertheless, what would you suggest to people now, for instance, that are unemployed and have out of school and have no jobs? What would you suggest to them from your experience back?
Do you know what I think now? I think anyone can get work if they look for it. Do you know, you can't be selected when there's no work.
That's right, very good, yes.
I know a young fella who wasn't good in school and wouldn't go into an office. And he does everything. He told me lately he was driving a steam engine for the county council.
Yeah.
And he only lost his work when the county council ran out of work.
You're right.
He
Yeah.
did everything. He, you know, you can't be selective at any time. I would have done anything.
Yes.
A person would say, you had a good life. I worked as hard as anyone. And you know, work is no harm to anybody. But to have a cheerful outlook on life, I think.
Yes.
I think to be prepared to put up with things and not to complain.
Yes.
You know, everywhere I was, I suppose I was lucky. But in school, in the training college, I wouldn't advise them to do what I did about going out the window.
Yes.
But
They do much worse than that now, maybe.
well,
They might, some of them, you know.
you see, I don't blame the nuns because maybe if we went out the window, and another thing, if we met two besides the poor lad Morden was his name that was hanged,
Yes.
we mightn't come back so safely. But anyway, I wouldn't advise them to do that because, well, in any school or anything, you have to keep order and discipline. And
That's right,
if you don't, you'll have chaos.
Yeah, so your advice would be, I'd say, something like the Chinese you say, I thought I was badly off when I had no boots until I saw someone without no feet. Wouldn't that be it?
Oh, yes.
Twould. So we're not really badly off, you would suggest. And to try to fight for to keep going. I suppose that would be your advice, would it?
And I heard so many stories of people who take Dáil when they actually could get something to do. You know, people are lazy.
Yeah, I know. And of course this actually degrades themselves sometimes, if you can do without it. Yes, that's right.
It does.
Yes, it does. It actually does. It could be the very opposite of the old days when the poverty that degraded. When you saw it, when there were people had nothing.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, and had
But
no.
you know, it was wonderful what they did at that time, and how cheerful they were, and how they could sing, and how charitable they were. You know.
Now, at the end of this time now, I suppose there's some song that you would like, and we'll get it sung later and get it on to the end of this. I think that you have a favourite song here, the Martra anthem. What is that the name of it?
The Martra Exile.
The Martra Exile. And we'll get that sung for you now later. Goodbye now, Nance. And it was a pleasure talking to you.